You don't have to become what hurt you. Just because trauma runs through your family does not mean it has to run through you. Good morning. We are still talking about Dinah. And, many women come from families where trauma has occurred. I know I have. I know that there is a very real thing when it comes to generational trauma. Uh, and Dinah, when we talk about Dinah's brothers responded to her assault with a violent rage, continuing a cycle of chaos, vengeance, and pain. And so while this had happened to Dinah, there's some things that her brothers did that perpetuated this, that continued this process. And maybe you've seen the same thing: anger, silence, dysfunction. Maybe these are the way your family just deals with things. Sometimes it's sticking your head in the sand. Sometimes it's getting angry and beating up anybody that's come across their way. Sometimes it's going to jail. Sometimes it's so many things. And if you can start to see a silver line of continuity through your family, it's time to start finding a way to break those generational curses. So when you start realizing that there is a generational lineage of trauma that has happened from generation to generation, then you can start making a stand and saying, okay, this ends with me. A few years ago, I was having a conversation with somebody and they were telling me, you're my person. You're my one. You're the one I tell everything to. You're the one I'm the most honest with. And I had to be completely in their face for a moment. I said, I truly believe that you believe that, but there is still something you are holding back. And I know from my own experience, I didn't get my healing done soon enough, and it impacted all of you. And so, whatever it is, whether you're ready to tell me or not, you need to do the work to start breaking this curse. And when they had that conversation with me about a week later to unveil what was going on, it rocked me to my core. It devastated me. It made me physically ill. It made me depressed. It did a lot of things. But it also took the time for me to say, all right, it's out in the open. We can deal with this now. It doesn't have to be a dirty little secret. It doesn't have to be something that we run and hide from. We can deal with this. And once we deal with this, it has no power for our future generations, right? So Dinah didn't have a voice in how her brothers responded to her. Many times back then, women didn't have a voice for anything. But you do. You have a power to decide how you are going to handle and respond to the things that have happened to you that are the ugly things. The curse spoken over Simeon and Levi, her brothers, wasn't over Dinah. It was over the rage that came from unresolved wounds. So you can choose healing or you can choose a new legacy. And so there is a way to choose healing and a new legacy. And you can be what I love to call a lineage liberator. So we are setting our lineage free from things of the past, things that have been harmful, things that have crept up into the crevices of our life and caused disruption, chaos, hurt, bitterness, anger. You can be a disruptor of that. You can be a liberator of that and set yourself forward to move in a way that God is showing others that you are whole and you are restored. So, have you ever heard the phrase, that's just how our family is? But when you look into deeper, you see a generation of unhealed trauma disguised as a personality. And I want to encourage you not just to look and see where all the brokenness is, but look and see if each generation is growing and improving. I can look back at my grandmother's and I can see remarkable growth from what my grandmothers went through to what my mom's went through and dad went through. I can see remarkable growth in what I've gone through. And I can also see remarkable growth in what my children are going through. So, yes, we want to see that growth, but it doesn't mean that it's completely healed. So, when I had to choose healing, I had stuffed and suppressed. I call it stuff and suppress. I had taken everything that had happened to me. I had stuffed it way down low. I knew nobody wanted to hear about it. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to face it. So why would anybody else want to face it? And quite honestly, I thought it made me look weak. I thought it made me look like a version of myself I did not want to be. And once I started unraveling that, I started to realize that it was in dealing with the healing side of things that opened up the liberation of what had been holding me back. So we've all been given cycles. How many of you have dealt with silence or shame or bitterness or anger or grief or perfectionism or overreactions, anxiety, depression? We have all been given cycles that we deal with what happens to us with. But what if we decided to hand off healing instead of trauma? So let's think about this. If we're saying we are going to not deal with trauma and say trauma is our legacy, we're going to say healing is our legacy. Just like Dinah's brothers let pain spill into violence, we can learn to let pain spill into purpose. They say that somebody that uses a lot of curse words, they just are being lazy. Whether you believe that or not, that's up to you. And I will admit that from time to time, I'll let a little curse word fly here or there. But just like that, violence is easy. Violence is the easy response. The greater response is to be strategic, skillful, and come from a place of healing, like a surgeon, surgically excising the pain and allowing room for growth. So I talk about the healing process much like a boil, and I'm sorry if any of you are eating breakfast while you're watching this, but when you get a boil on your body, they have to go in and they have to cut out all the bad tissue until they get to good tissue. And once they get to good tissue, you start feeling some of that pain. So it's much like counseling, much like going through time with a chaplain like myself or a counselor or a therapist, a psychologist, something like that. You're going to go in, and the first few sessions, you're just going to feel numb. You're going to feel like nothing's working, nothing's messing with you. It's just blah, blah, blah. But then as you can continue to cut away at that boil, you start getting to that healthy skin. And when you get to that healthy skin, that's when you start to realize, I actually do have feelings. I do have an opinion. I do have a voice. I can speak up. The feeling I have now is I don't want anybody else to feel numb like I felt when this journey began. So we're going to skip from Genesis 34 and we're going to go to Genesis 49, and we're looking at verse 7 here. But I want to set a little bit of the atmosphere for Genesis 49. So Genesis 49 is really about Jacob's last word, setting up the promise for the Messiah. And in one what are they called? Commentary that I read, it acknowledges that the servant is the one deeply despised, abhorred by nations, the slaves of rulers. This servant, in first invisible, then despised, will nevertheless be recognized by the powerful, by the kings and princesses, because the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, has chosen you. So let's keep in mind that Dinah was chosen. And Dinah was chosen by God, which often means that worldly people are not going to see her with high favor. They're not going to give her statute, and they're not going to give her authority, and they're not going to give her a voice. But that doesn't matter. That does not disqualify what God has already given her. So in 49:7, and again, bringing out the classes, 49:7 says, their anger is cursed, for it is strong, and their fury, for it is cruel. I will despise them throughout Jacob and scatter them throughout Israel. So he is going to take and bring restoration to those that have been destroyed because of being a victim, have been destroyed because of trauma, have been destroyed because of pain. So Genesis 49:7 reveals a consequence for the fury Dinah's brothers unleashed, but it also serves as a warning of don't let your pain turn cruel. One of the biggest lessons I learned when I was going through my healing was I used to pick on my husband. I still do to a certain amount, but the level and the way in which I was picking on my husband before was really an abuse cycle. Like, if my husband asked me to stop something and I continued to do it, I was perpetuating the abuse that had been put onto me. I wanted somebody else to feel the same pain, same anger, same frustration I was feeling, but I couldn't be mature enough to put it into words. I couldn't be mature enough to say, okay, yeah, I know you don't like it when I pinch you on the inner thigh. I enjoy it. Well, that's something an abuser would do. And I was perpetuating the abuse that had been laid on me onto my husband, and I was continuing a cycle. Once I went through healing and I had that counseling and I had that revelation, it changed everything. Now, there are still things that I do, picking and loving and all that stuff. But when he says stop, I stop. I normally pout, but I stop, right? Because we all like to pick on our husbands, right? So instead, we're going to let God scatter the trauma. We're not going to let the people that are part of us rewrite our own history. We are in charge of the healing for our own history, and we are in charge of giving it over to God. So Isaiah 61, we're skipping over to Isaiah now. Isaiah 61:4 says, they will rebuild the ancient ruins. They will restore the former devastations. They will renew the ruined cities and the devastations of many generations. Let's focus on that. Anytime your life has been devastated, and it has happened to me several times. Anytime your life has been devastated, it says right here that they will renew the ruined cities, the devastations of many generations. There is a plan and a purpose, not just for when you were born, but for your restoration when things don't go right. You have the power to stop the generational curse. You are the rebuilder, the repairer, the renamer of your family story. This doesn't mean pretending it never happened. It means letting God make sure it doesn't happen again. So together, we say this every day. We are daughters. We are daughters of Dinah, but not daughters of destruction. We are daughters of hope. We are daughters of faith. We are daughters of love. We are daughters of legacy and liberators of our legacy. We carry peace, not pain. We speak truth, not terror. And we are the ones who break it and bless it. So it is time. If you can look back through your family and see things that have afflicted your family for generations, it is now time for you to be a legacy liberator. It is time for you to set your generations to come free from the things of the past. It is time to join forces with God and tap into that plan and that purpose that He has, not just for you, but for the generations you are birthing. So our declaration today is the pain stops with me. I am the cycle breaker. I carry healing in my hands and a new legacy in my voice. Let's say that again. The pain stops with me. I am the cycle breaker. I carry healing in my hands and a new legacy in my voice. Bow your heads and pray with me. God, thank you for trusting us with the weight of restoration. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to not live in destruction and rubble for the end of our lives. Thank you for the opportunity to be legacy liberators, to set the generations that come behind us free from the things that have afflicted us in our past. Lord, I just lift up everyone that's watching today, no matter what they are struggling with, that they will find your hope, your peace, your calming, your comfort that is just right for them in this moment, in this time, in this place. In Jesus' name we pray. So we will be back tomorrow with another episode of Dinah. I am going to have to do that one pre-recorded. So I'm going to pre-record that tonight because I have jury duty tomorrow. Yay. Got to do our civic duty, right? Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and unto God what is God. So tomorrow I get to deal with Caesar. But we are doing our devotional. I will have it pre-recorded, ready to go live at 9:30 tomorrow morning. And I am excited about our next woman that we're going to talk about. She is a woman that we are going to talk about for such a time as this. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. All right. So we will see you tomorrow. And until then, have a blessed